Very good morning to all of you here, and heartiest congratulations to SIS for organizing this event today. And I love the title, Catching the Fall. What are we going to talk about today? My talk today is about catching the adolescent, catching the teenager if and when he falls. Why is it important to talk about this? Adolescence, a beautiful time to experience, to grow from a child to an adult, to go through all the phases that one goes through, and also a time for turmoil, for disturbance. Erik Erikson said that it is this phase which actually determines whether the teenager can have his own identity or whether he is going to go into a role confusion. Teenage rebellion, is it normal? Every day I have at least 5 parents coming and talking to me about how their teenager is getting rebellious. And when I go through the details, we need to find out, is it normal stress that a teenager is going through because of whatever life choices he has to make, educational pressures, parental pressures, or even their own pressures? Teenagers are confused about their own sexuality, about the thoughts that they are getting, whether they are normal, abnormal, and if they need to do anything about it. Being a teenager in today's life is so difficult and it's so beautiful at the same time. You have so many choices. You have the world at your feet. You can find out anything. You can go anywhere in the world. You can pursue any dream. At the same time, teenagers also become a victim of their own thoughts, a victim of their own confusions. And many a times, they move from being stressed to being distressed, and sometimes also to feeling depressed. It's estimated that by 2020, half of India's population is going to be full of people under the age of 20. What do we want for them? Do we want them to be stressed, distressed, or depressed? Or do we want them to be successful and conquering the world over? And if we want to do that, we have to begin today. It is up to each one of us to recognize the troubled teenager, and I'm going to just share with you how we can do that and how each one of us can make a difference and help the teenager to go towards success and not towards depression. What are some of the things that happen? Low self-esteem. Every teenager goes through this. I promise you, I remember as teenagers ourselves, once upon a time we were teenagers. We all went through this. We all thought, I thought I was very short, my other friend thought she was very dark, someone thinks that they're very fat, etc., etc. A lot of teenagers are confused about their own sexuality. And of course, there are lots and lots of choices for them to go through. So what happens is that every day begins with a new thought, every day begins with a new confusion. And how we successfully deal with it, either by the end of the day, or we don't, or whether it multiplies in our brains, that is what takes us to another level. Expectations, of course, parents are going to expect from y'all. It's natural. We expect a lot from our parents too. So of course, parents are going to expect. But how do we balance our own expectations with parental expectations? How do we amalgamate the two? How is our communication with people around us? It's extremely important to have a healthy communication with the world around. And our communication should not only be restricted to the social media. Today we have teenagers who are connected with the world around, but absolutely disconnected with the people around. And that is something that we really need to look at, a balance between the two. It's fantastic to be connected to everyone in the world. The entire world comes crashing down. You keep thinking of the person, you keep missing the messages. Every time you send a message or every time you see that the person is online, You want the person to connect with you. And the longer it takes, the more your heart goes sinking down. And what happens then? Of course, bullying is a very, very important part today, which is being addressed by all schools and colleges. And this is something that we need to look at. What do we do when a teenager is being bullied? How do we handle it? How do we as a parent, a school, or a teenager handle this stress that comes with it? What are the danger signs? What are we looking at? Looking at personality changes. Suddenly you see that the teenager around you is getting very angry, getting irritable, feeling sad for no apparent reason, is having sleep and appetite changes. You know, many a times people tell me that my son sleeps the entire day and is awake the entire night. Is this something to be worried about? Of course it is. Appetite changes. I don't feel like eating at home. I want to eat only junk food. Alcohol is something that a lot of people resort to when they are anxious, because this is something that helps you to get rid of your anxiety. But soon it becomes a habit, and soon you are into the throes of alcoholism and other substances. Is that the way we want to go? But these could just be the beginning symptoms of emotional disorders. And why are we talking about emotional disorders today? Because half of the emotional psychiatric disorders as an adult begin before the age of 14. And that is why WHO this year, the theme is to recognize the young adult who has emotional issues, to work with them immediately, because the faster we see them, the faster we are going to pick it up and we are going to do something about it. Falling grades. Someone who's doing very well in school and suddenly starts slagging in performance. Of course, we all slag sometimes, but if this is something which you're noticing, maybe this person just needs a little additional help to find out what has been happening, why are the grades falling. Evidence of self-harm. This is a very, very important topic today, because 1/3 of all deaths in the world happen because of suicide. And 1/3 of all suicides happen in our country today. And this is something that people don't talk about. This is a subject that people shy away from because of the stigma associated with taking help. These are some of the disorders that adolescents go through: depression, anxiety, OCD, anxiety disorder, alcohol and substance abuse, eating disorders. And of course, if these disorders are not recognized in time, these are the people who become so distressed with the amount of thoughts that they're having, with their feelings, with their behaviors, they cannot understand why they are feeling this way. And because of the stigma associated with taking help, with going to a psychiatrist, these disorders are not picked up. And these are the people who land up having self-destructive behaviors. And unfortunately, these are the people who either become destructive and land up in juvenile homes or attempt suicide. The rate of suicide has doubled in the last 5 years, because there are more adolescents who die of suicide than AIDS, cancer, heart disease, obesity, and lung disease. So what is our role today? Of course, the role of the parent is to have a healthy relationship with the child, to give an environment to the child so that the child feels comfortable. The teenager feels like talking. I know no teenager feels like talking to their parents, but at the same time, if we create an environment, maybe they will come up to you when they need help. And soon they will realize that yes, you are a parent who is there for them. And you will see that not only you, not only they, but they will also start bringing their friends to you for help. Connecting with the child, understanding his body language is really important. And how do we communicate? Listening 99% and 1% giving them the advice that they need when they need it. Sometimes it looks like that the advice is falling on deaf ears, but all the same, we need to connect to the teenagers. Taking professional help, just as we would take for typhoid or dengue, you take your child to the doctor. Similarly, I think it's smart to take help today. Gone are the days where only mad people visited psychiatrists. Today, it's smart, so take prompt help. A talk with a therapist or a psychiatrist will tell you what is normal and what needs to be looked at. The role of the teacher. The teachers today are recognizing their role in the classroom. And if we ever have to think of who is the best teacher in our life, who would we think of? Someone who taught us geography well or history well, or somebody who came and put their arm around us when we needed that help, who just came and put a hand on our shoulder and asked us, what's happening? Why are you looking so disturbed today? Teachers come across maximum students, and if they can pick up the warning signs, if a child's grades are dropping, or if the child is somewhere looking disinterested, is sleeping excessively in classrooms, or is getting into a lot of fights, is eating alone, is not joining the other friends where activities are concerned, spend 5 minutes with that student. Call him. Don't call him out in the class, but after the class ends, just reach out to him and ask him, is there something wrong? Why are you looking so disturbed? And please keep or whatever the child tells you confidential. You don't want it to become a gossip with the rest of the teachers or with the rest of the students, and earn that child's respect. When you reach out to a child, 90% chances the child will reach out to you. And the most important thing, role of the peer. Today, mental health issues are too important to be left to the mental health professionals, because it is only 1 in maybe 500 students who's suffering who will reach a mental health professional. So as a friend, if you notice any of your friend is getting irritable, is not talking properly, is sitting alone, is getting into excessive use of social media, is posting things which are inappropriate on social media, it's very interesting to gossip about these things. But if you can reach out to that person and tell him or her that, listen, I'm here for you. I've noticed that for the last few days you're not coming, you're not talking to us, you're not joining us for lunch. What's the matter? What's the problem? Can I be of any help? Maybe the person is just going to tell you, I don't need your help, get lost, go away from here, don't talk to me. But just sending a message to tell the person that I'm here for you and I'm there if you need me at any time. Encouraging them to come and speak to the counselor, going with them to the counselor, and giving them your full attention when they need you. What if the person refuses to get help? I think on a daily basis, I have people coming and telling me that, I know that my friend is suffering, I know that my child is suffering, I know that the student in school is suffering, but they are refusing to get help. At that time, I tell them, no problem, just continue to be there. Reach out to the teacher, reach out to the counselor in school, and tell them that you all are worried about this particular individual. I recently had a young girl who had gone on a school trip, and she told me that on the school trip, one of the friends said that, guys, I don't think I'm going to see you all tomorrow morning because I'm really disturbed and I don't want to live any longer. Now, while the other students did not know what to do, she had attended one of these talks. So she said, I'm going to wake up the school teacher. It was 2 a.m. in the morning. She said, I'm going to go to the school teacher and wake her up. While the other friend said, don't be silly, she's not going to do anything. She says, I cannot sleep knowing that my friend may end her life. So she woke up the teacher who had accompanied them for the trip, went up to her, and together they went only to find out that the girl was trying to kill herself. She had already tied a dupatta around the fan, and the next step was, and they reached in time. And of course, this timely help saved a life. And one cannot wait for the next morning. It's almost like someone gets a heart attack in front of you. Will you say that I will look at you tomorrow morning and see what I need to do? Or will you take prompt action? This is absolutely the need for the hour. We need to reach out to the teenagers. We need to identify the troubled teenagers, because half of all mental illness begins by the age of 14. And today, it's very easy to get help. I know that there are a lot of taboos around seeking psychiatric help. People think only mad people go to psychiatrists. People think that psychiatrists, once they start giving medicines, they will never stop. Psychiatrists give you sleeping pills. These are all myths which need to be broken now. It is easy for people to take help, and the best part is that 90% of the problems may end only if the person gets a ear to listen to, someone to sit and talk to. So be that friend, reach out to your friends, and prevention just begins with better understanding. We don't need lakhs of rupees to be spent on mental health. All we need is vigilant people around. All we need is a heart that tells you that let me reach out, because today is the time that yes, each one of us can save someone's life, can give that helping hand before the person decides to end it all. Thank you. Thank you so much.